Okay, this might be the most ridiculous flashlight I've reviewed in quite a long time. Well, actually probably ever. Because at a first glance, you can quickly tell that this isn't your standard run-of-the-mill flashlight. Because just at that quick glance, you get flashes of a strange button, multiple bulbs, a monster pocket clip, a cutout on the side, and just an overall very strange footprint for a flashlight. But the crazy thing here is, this packs an insane amount of features here, like a spotlight of over 3,000 lumens, a fold-out floodlight, a red light, a UV light, magnetic mounting, and USB-C charging. And somehow, Workos managed to shove all that into one flashlight. Though still a tad bulky and heavy, this still managed to fit in a pocket. So today we're checking out the new HD05, and honestly, this thing feels less like a flashlight and more something like a flashlight multi-tool. So let's get into it. So the HD05 here is basically a hybrid between something like your typical EDC flashlight, but also still combining functionality from something like a work light. And I say that because the biggest feature here is this folding side panel right here. And this rotates out so you can use this like a floodlight instead of traditional beam. And this can be turned 180 degrees, so you can really use this any way you see fit. I really haven't seen a feature like this on a flashlight, so I think it's pretty cool if not super interesting. This immediately makes this light way more useful for working on cars, power outages, camping, filming gear, desk lighting, or literally just any close-up task. Because most flashlights are really good at blasting light forward. But with this side light, you can use that magnetic base to stick this to a metallic surface and get a wider range of light than with a normal focus beam. This slide light isn't an afterthought though. It says extremely bright and should light up any area you're working in. Normally stuff like this kind of feels like a gimmick, but not here. This actually feels really usable. But the crazy part is all these other lighting options that are packed into this thing, because this side light is only the very tip of the iceberg. We still have a spotlight mode, a flood mode, a red light, and a UV. So it's basically like having 4 different lights in just one body. Now let's get into the specs, because on paper, this thing is honestly pretty loaded. And honestly, it should be, because this guy is heavy. This isn't some small thumb-sized flashlight you just toss into a pocket and forget about it. This chunk is just a smidge over 8 ounces. It's a bit of a brute. This is 5 inches long and about 1.5 inches tall. So it's definitely not a micro light you can just attach to the brim of your hat or slip into a small pouch or organizer. This guy is solid. But there's a big benefit here to that, and that's that having all this space to jam pack it with features, and this 100% accomplishes that. So right off the bat, the main spotlight is rated at over 3,100 lumens with a beam distance of around 335 meters, which is pretty crazy as that's almost 4 football fields in length if you need a visual example. Now I live in a pretty urban environment, so unfortunately I have no way to really show you that, but I absolutely believe it as this guy is insanely bright, almost like a laser beam. Now 3,000 lumens is quite a lot, much more than standard EDC lights. This actually has pretty real power behind it. However, due to this high brightness, this will only hold around here for around 1.5 minutes before dropping down to 950 lumens to protect itself. To get this specific spotlight, you just simply press this side button when the indicator is pointing directly north, and one click will bring you either to the lowest setting at 71 lumens or the full output of 3,100 lumens, depending on what mode you last exited in, since this has a memory. And just to switch between brightness, just holding the button will switch it over. Now, staying on the subject of this button, we can switch this over to the UV or the red simply by rotating the switch over to the left or right. To the left, we have UV, which is really great for checking stains, finding leaks, charging glowing material, or just messing around because UV lights are always just so fun. And then if we switch it over to the right, we now have the red light. Now, I don't really have a specific use case for red light personally, but I know people really love to preserve night vision or just have a lower profile. You can also raise or lower the brightness of both the UV and the red light, along with the side light from earlier, by holding down the activation button as well. It's pretty crazy having 4 different lights here, with the main spotlight, the side floodlight, the UV, and the red light all bundled in just one light. I think it's pretty cool, and if you needed all these functions, it's really fantastic having them all bundled in just one high quality light. I think it's personally overkill for me. It wouldn't be something I carry every day due to the size and the weight, but it's really hard to deny how useful all these different modes really could be. This makes me think this would be a really great light for camping, as all these different modes in just one compact package is kind of hard to beat. Now with these high outputs, we need a pretty big boy battery, and this light runs on a removable 21700 battery, and this charges via onboard USB-C charging due to the charging point here on the side. This is a pretty beefy battery, so battery life should be pretty solid, especially in the lower modes. I've been playing with this for a few weeks now, and I've yet to charge it, so definitely pretty reasonable here on the battery life front. Now, much like everything out there, this has some things that make it a really excellent light, yet also some that are pretty big drawbacks. So let's quickly run through some of the pros and cons to see if this is the next light for you. And starting off with the biggest strength of this light, I think it has to be the versatility. This light is just so many different modes and features, it remains just one single tangible tool. This has all the features of just a standard EDC light, a really strong piercing spotlight, a UV light, a red light, and then even a side floodlight. This combines all those into just one light. So if you're somebody who really likes maximizing gear, just having one tool be the jack of all trades, this thing makes a lot of sense. Another big positive for me is this fold side out panel. At first, when I saw the marketing photos of this, I thought it was kind of a gimmick. But after using it, it's actually surprisingly useful. Just being able to angle the light exactly where you want it is huge. And this turns this from just another flashlight into an actual tool. I could really see this being a really great addition to a mechanic's toolbox, as this works great stuck under the hood of a car while giving all this light with this side panel. Just a really cool addition, and I really like it. Now, obviously, this isn't perfect. Though it's pretty cool with tons of interesting features, this isn't the absolute best flashlight in the world. Because first off, it's bigger than a normal EDC light. This is definitely chunkier than your average pocket flashlight. So should you pocket carry this, you will absolutely know it's there and feel the weight. And even though this has a big pocket clip running down the side of the light, this is just something I would never really toss in the pocket. Instead, feel like it much rather belongs in a glove box or a bag. So if you want ultra minimal carry, this isn't it. Next up is the folding mechanism on the side, and all the multiple modes make this feel a little bit more complex than a simple tactical light. That's of course a given, but if you only want to on and off, bright and low, there are much simpler options out there. I really do like how this button is here to switch over to the modes. I think it's a really great solution, but if you want a light just to turn on and be really bright right off the bat, this might not be the best option. I think this light makes the most sense for somebody who actually uses these utility features. If you never use UV, red light, or even need this much power and throw, then you probably don't need this much of a flashlight. Now I want to cover the value because I honestly think it's pretty fair. This currently has a retail price right around the $100 mark. Now that's not cheap and that's a nice chunk of change, but I honestly think it's rather fair as you get tons of features, it's a well-established company, and it feels really quality and premium in hand. So think of it this way. Instead of buying a flashlight, a work light, a UV light, and a red light all separately, you're getting all of it in just one small package. And though Workhos isn't one of the flasher names out there, and honestly not even my favorite company, they've really become really good at making enthusiast style lights without charging enthusiast prices. I feel like most people, this is probably too much of a flashlight for them. But this feels like one of those lights that flashlight nerds are just going to absolutely love. But then again, regular people can really appreciate it almost immediately after seeing all the features. So overall, I think the HD05 is one of the most interesting flashlights I've really used recently. It feels like somebody sat down and asked, what features can we pack into a single light? And somehow they managed to cram all of it into this. So if you want a bright EDC flashlight, a useful work light, a great camping light, or just a really fun gadget flashlight, the HD05 is honestly worth checking out. But let me know down in the comments, would you actually carry something like this? Or do you still prefer a more simple traditional flashlight, maybe without all the crazy extra features? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.